Welcome to Dress.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Welcome everybody. Welcome. Come in, join us, join us, join us. The time is now 1:36, and we were scheduled to come on at 1:30. So we have, with technology and everybody all over the world being on it, it will just bring us challenges. But nevertheless, we are making our way through and finding whatever way, by any means necessary, I want to say, with getting this information out to you. So just Jane, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for joining us. As you come on, feel free to come with your comments. Welcome, Miss Councilwoman Michelle Harley. Thank you so much for joining us. And Michelle, thank you so much. We appreciate your presence with us today. And I'm going to go ahead and without further delay, because we're so excited to be able to share with you from two of our co-authors. We have joining us today, LeRoy and Sandra Bailey. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this podcast and this platform to talk to everyone about this subject we're all dealing with, COVID-19 and its effects, what it has had and is having on the lives of so many people. And with that being said, just dealing with health, and our wellness, our well-being. How are we making it through these times? How can we support each other through these times? So we have what we call our experts in the area of in sickness and in health, to be able to come to us and to you all to share, how they have made it through in their lives, their years of marriage. They have been together, and I'm gonna let them tell them about themselves. How about that instead of us? But I just wanted to introduce them before. Robbie, you have anything?
I appreciate. We do appreciate you, all of you, supporting the Marriage Grit and our vision and what we're trying to accomplish. Before I turn it back over to Tawanda to introduce this wonderful couple, I want to read this particular part because again, we have this wonderful. I'm going to show you the editor's edition that I have. This wonderful book. If you have not, get it up on the screen.
I'll do that.
If you have not purchased your copy, please do so. It's on Amazon. But I want to read, because one of the things that God laid on our heart to do is to revisit these infamous or famous vows that we've all stood before God and stood before a host of family and friends and witnesses, and we made the decision. And quite honestly, a lot of people, it's very rare that people will get to the altar and decide, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
It's a very, very rare occasion. So it is up to us, the Marriage Grit community, to revisit these vows and remind you of the vow you made. And I want to read this particular part, and it's authored by Sandra Bailey. And it says, we made a vow to each other in the presence of God. I, Sandra, I, Roy, take you to be my husband, wife, to have and to hold, for better, for worse, richer, for poor. And the subject of this matter this afternoon is in sickness and in health. I think it is so valuable as we talk about, or as we look on the TV screen and see the news, and we see husbands and we see wives passing. I've heard stories of wives or husbands both being having this particular virus or having a sickness and being in hospital rooms across from one another and not being able to visit one another, or a loved one passing, and a wife being home. And I even heard a story of they both husband and wife were in a hospital together. The wife recovered from whatever illness was, and she came home. The husband ended up passing away, but the wife could not go and visit the husband. So the times that we're in is absolutely, it's interesting. So we appreciate those that's working on the front lines and those that are supporting families to get through this particular illness, because what I'm finding is that doctors and nurses are not just particularly only doctors or only nurses. They're also having to be the counselors of these families through this difficult situation.
Yes. Yeah. So without further ado, I really want to be able to turn the ranks over to you two. So we want you to tell everyone about who you are, how long you've been married. Just introduce yourself to the world. Right now you're on a platform and have so many people just wanting to know, and you have some valuable information that you can share as it relates to marriage, supporting one another, who you are, anything and everything. So we're going to back up and we're going to give you this share with everyone who you are and everything that you would like to. All right. So without further ado, I'm introducing you all to LeRoy and Sandra Bailey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We are so blessed to be here. And it's wonderful that we were asked to participate on this platform and for such a time as it is right now. Thursday past was our wedding anniversary. We've been married for 36 years. And I put a picture on Facebook and I'm all smiles, but I was in so much pain at the time. I just put the phone on the timer and said, just hold it, hold it, hold it with my smile. And as soon as it went off, I was like, oh, and I reeked in pain all day. But God is still good. We're here together. And I said, we're smiling together through it all. I just didn't know the pain behind the smile. But as far as us, we've weathered some things. We weathered some songs, some storms. It hasn't always been about sickness. We just weather stuff. But since the topic is sickness, I can remember a time, it seemed like in the beginning it was me having a little issue here, a little issue there. And, Roy was my rock. He just healthy. He plugged through. And it was in 2000. 2000 when he was diagnosed of having diabetes. First time. He didn't even know he had it. He was first diagnosed then. And so from that point on, it started with, challenges, and he was trying to get used to, managing that. And, it was a big change. It was a shock.
Change of lifestyle.
It was change of lifestyle. And then for one point, and in the beginning, because of the doctor that was treating him, even though he's a type 2, they put him on insulin. And I remember him getting very, very discouraged, taking the insulin shots, to the point where he was wanting to give up. I can't do this. This is bothering me. This was too much of a shock, a change for him. And, we got through that, and I stood by him, of course. And, then he got on the pills and we was rolling. We was off to the races, just doing what we had to do. And, life would hit us here and there, a little cold, a little something. I always had my little issues. And then it was this big day, this big event. I want to reference it to this big event. That I didn't see coming, wasn't even a thought in my mind. I hadn't even considered nor played it over in my mind. Nothing. You just don't, you hear about heart attacks, you hear about this, that, and the other. But when you hear about heart attacks, it's usually in the fatality. It's usually in a place of, they can't come back from it. It's all these bad things. So the day that we experienced our issue with the heart attack, when my husband had one, man, I just lost it. I never forget. I have an opportunity to work from home, and this particular Friday, I was working from home, and normally, I'm gonna be honest, transparent. I get up, wash my face, brush my teeth, and I'm in my pajamas until whenever. But this day, I got up, I showered like I was going into the office, fully dressed, everything but shoes on. I even had my socks on, and I was working. He came into my office, and he kind of fell into the recliner a little bit hard, like, he was exhausted. He just said his arm felt heavy, and couldn't hardly lift his arm, and his chest was some weight on his chest. And so as he's saying this, I'm typing to my supervisor, I have an emergency. And so I'm talking to him. I said, well, do you want to go somewhere and get checked out, And he says, well, only if you go with me. Well, first of all, that was the first alarm, because he was willing. If I went with him, that wasn't an issue if I was going. The issue was he was saying that he wanted to go get checked out. So, and then he says, but you're working. No, I already handled work while you were talking about your symptoms. But I still didn't think heart attack. So we run on over, get him together. We run over to the, what was it, the emergency? The medical aid unit right across the street, because, you know, we don't want to be bothered with the hospitals because they keep you too long. And so we went over there, and they checked him out, and his EKG, all of that came back normal. But they were concerned. Thank God for that doctor. The doctor was concerned with the symptoms that he was explaining and describing were not lining up with what he was seeing in the EKG. So he says, well, you need to scurry on over to the hospital, and they can do blood work, and then, you know, make sure we haven't missed anything, because the EKG is normal, but I don't like what he's saying.
And that was a comedic moment. When you were driving to the hospital, it kind of cheered me up a little bit from the way I was actually feeling. You know, you remember? Yeah,
because so we had called our baby girl, right? She was a nurse at Penn, University of Penn at the time, and she worked in cardiac step down. So I had called her before when I took him over to the medical aid unit, and she said, then, Mommy, take Daddy to the hospital. And I said, okay. So, you know, not listening, I should have, but, you know, we ran over there because we don't want to spend all this time in the hospital. Well, I didn't even know that by my phone call, she left work. She already knew what was happening. She left work. She was already on her way from Philly back home. And so now I'm calling her after getting out saying, we got to go to the hospital. And she says, well, I told you to take him there. Daddy's having a heart attack. Now, he don't hear her because I had my earbuds in. And I'm like, I'm hearing heart attack for the first time, because the doctors didn't say it. They just said the blood work could show something different than what the EKG is saying, is showing, right? Still nobody said that word until our daughter said heart attack. Heart attack. Well, now I don't know what is happening to me, but I'm trying to calm him down and not get him alarmed to what I just heard. And I'm speeding. And I took him around the corner, and he was like, wait a minute, you take me to the hospital? You trying to kill me? That's our little joke. And so we made it onto the hospital, and then it just starts to snowball from there, you know, right into the vitals, right into the EKG, right from there to snatch them to a room. From the room, all the doctors and nurses flood the room. You know, they're pulling blood. You got the ultrasound. Everything's going on. Nothing was being shown in the ultrasound. But what happened was the blood work came back. It's all in the blood. The blood work came back. We are talking. We and him having a conversation, waiting. And the doctors come in again, just like they flooded the first time. And they said, some doctor grabbed me and said, not grabbed me, but kind of escorted me away from him. And they were taking him this way. Mr. Bailey, we have to go. You're in full-blown heart attack mode. You're having it as we speak. Well, this, you know, and then they're taking me over here. He's going to stay with me till family comes. And I didn't know how to process all of that. So now all of these fears that I can't even talk about because I don't even remember them, but I internalized them to the point I'm trying to be strong. Our oldest daughter was pregnant with our first grandchild. Well, now she can't be told, Brandon, you got to go get her. Tell her gently, you know, I want nothing happen to her or the baby. So I'm still being mama.
I'm still stuck at heart attack.
Yeah, he's
can't get past it.
Right.
And he's gone. They'd have taken him to surgery.
So with that being the case, I was actually reading Roy's chapter in the book, and I don't mean to cut you off because I want you to keep going with the amazing story. I was reading Roy's chapter in the book, and Roy, you mentioned that to you before this situation, you've been pretty good with health and no issues, bit of help from doctors, it was all good. So just for a moment, man, talk about that. You know, I know what Sandra says she's going through, and I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But from a guy that's fit, that's a contractor and working hard, providing for the family, goes to the doctors, what's going through your head when you're like, man, I'm healthy. What's going on?
I started thinking back to the years because, you know, I used to be a bodybuilder. I was really fit, and I stopped. I'd say. Right. Maybe about 7 or 8 years prior to that. And it just blew my mind that, you know, just a few years ago, you know, this wouldn't even be thought of. So I went back into that era in my mind. And I'm like, well, how can this be? And I was actually trying to remember what kind of symptom that I might have had that I just totally forgot or ignored. And while that was going on, I couldn't think of anything, at that point. But it was devastating to me because that's pretty much the last thing that I could imagine that would have happened to me. I'm looking at, oh yeah, I'm getting ready to get this new grandchild, and we're gonna have some fun, we're gonna play some ball, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. I'll get back into exercising big time, and show him how to keep his body right and all.
Right.
And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, But I thank God though, because I was strong through it, even though I was stuck on heart attack. I couldn't think of anything that she might have been going through at the time. I couldn't think of anything that my daughters, my family were going through. I was just stuck at heart attack. At any moment, I'm thinking that, I'm probably going to breathe my last breath, and I'll be gone. And I mean, the thoughts just kept pouring in my mind. You're physically fit. This can't be. You're physically fit. Heart attack. Physically fit. It's almost like a tape recording going over and over in your mind.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think even to that point, dealing with what is happening right now, people and those who have contracted COVID are feeling the same way.
Yes.
Like I was good.
Not me.
Yesterday I've been doing this, that, and the other, and I felt fine. No symptoms, no whatever. And then they find themselves in a position where, oh my gosh, I'm now dealing with this. I'm whatever the situation, whatever, come to that place of, wow, COVID or coronavirus is here, it's on me or whatever. These are the situations that people are facing even at this moment.
And I've actually had
so
that succumbed to that.
Yeah, we have.
Recently.
You said, yeah.
Right.
So many people are facing that particular fact, and it's coming and it's happening, and then how are we able to support one another? So even with that, and the reason why, again, I think your story is so relevant, Sandra, with this being the case, totally different scenario, but at the same time, it is the same scenario because it was something that we're not expecting. You were not expecting to take place. How do you support during those times? What measures do you take, in those times?
Yeah, well, our situation was
you can share what.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I said our situation was a little bit unique in the fact that not only did he have a heart attack, I ended up having a stroke. But they prevented it.
Right, I was going to ask about that.
I was stroking because of everything I was internalizing, and it was so much going on, and I'm trying to call people. I'm trying to be strong. I got this. I'm not feeling. I was worried, but I thought I had it under control. But my body, my vitals were doing its own thing. My mind was, guys got this and this and the other, but inside, other stuff was going on, and my pressure was rising, and I didn't know. And so at the end of the day, I was so exhausted. Till he's out of surgery, he's in his room, he's eating, and now the girls are in the room with him, and I'm in the room. I'm sitting in the chair, and I think when I walked in and saw him, and he was smiling, and he was trying to make jokes. He's a little comedian. It was almost like a relief, and I was so grateful to see him. That when I sat in the chair, everything else happened to me. And so the girls are talking to me, and I'm not responding like they think I should be. So because I was right there in the hospital, they had the clock on me. And it's this procedure called a TPA.
So let's be clear. So let's be clear, so the audience, so the listening audience understands, because I read the book and I know the story to an extent. So Roy's going through a heart attack. He's admitted into the hospital. Because we're talking about in sickness and in health, and supporting your spouse. through a healthy couple. So Roy's going through a heart attack. Roy's admitted into the hospital. This is a healthy guy. And as he's being visited by his wife, Sandra, Sandra starts experiencing a stroke. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes. Yes.
Now keep on going from there.
So they rushed me down
Keep going.
They rushed me down to ER from the room, from his bedside. I was sitting in his room. They take me from his room downstairs to emergency. The same thing, they call them codes, but the different code for me because I'm stroking. And so they did what they had to do, which was to thin all of my blood. And I had to lay on my back 24 hours or I would have bled out. So what they did was stop the stroke by thinning all my blood. Okay. So the story, the moral is now he's over getting well. He ends up coming to see me. Now you got to understand, we were in the emergency room, in intensive care at Christiana. You got one end for cardiac, same floor, the other end for neuro. So we're on the same floor on different ends in ICU, same time. So you got the family just leaving one hall, going to the next in between. But then it got to the point where he got released the next day. So everybody was coming to see me now. So I went in there with him for the heart attack. Now he's visiting me going home and I'm still there. But, you know, through it all, and then we get home, I finally get home. I get home and now that's when it really another struggle starts because he has to recuperate. We both have to recuperate. I came back a little quicker. You know, because of them thinning, they stopped it. So I didn't have all of the issues with the weakness and all these things that do come with the stroke or TIA or whatever. But he had the heart attack. He had the procedure. He had all of this. So now he's down from zero. He got to come all the way back up. This is a man's man here. Right? This is something brand new to him. Who sits? He don't sit.
Pause on that particular. Right, pause in that particular part. Since you, because that was my next question for you. I want to talk about that for the men that's actually watching, because you know we talk about we don't go to see doctors and that kind of good stuff. We kind of hold ourselves in. I want to read this part, and I want you both to elaborate on it. Sandra Bell, you wrote in your chapter. Let me tell you a little bit about my husband's character. He's what we call a man's man. This is a man who takes pride in doing what he must do as a man for his family, and always putting himself last. So talk about that for a moment. A man's man, like what does that really mean? And again, I want to hear from both of you. What does it mean to be a man's man in going through this sickness and in health?
Well, for me, it was difficult seeing my husband at this point because he always tells me I'm spoiled, whatever. I don't do anything, even to a light bulb. I mean, nothing. Because I can't do it. But anyway, and I depend on him so much. The girls do. The girls have anything. Daddy will fix it. Daddy will make it okay. You know, Roy will fix it. Roy will make it okay. And it's been like this all of these years. This is where it's been. I don't know anything else. He's always taking pride. I never had to worry about him laying up where he wouldn't work. I never had to worry about what he was going to make it happen for what he needed for the household. Make it do. If he had to work 2 jobs, he had to do the 2 shifts or whatever, or go out and do the side, whatever. It was legitimate. He was going to make it do what it had to do to provide for us. And that's, I love that about him. So to see him in this capacity now, we're having to help him. I'm having to help get him up to the standing position because he was so weak. That was breaking him. That was breaking him. That was hard to see. It was hard to see for me to see him. I'm getting emotional to see him go through it as well as me live it because I'm scared. My man's man now, what am I going to do? When is he going to come back? I need him back. We all need him, you know. So that was a very, very trying time for him as well as me. So I felt it as well. What were you going to say about your part of when you were down?
Well, I can't give an explanation for the man's man because that's your terminology. All I can say to that is I just do what my parents did, my father did, you know, for my family. I felt like I lost that. Um, I lost a lot of it, and by just sitting around and just watching things deteriorate. One example, while I was going through that, as a matter of fact, it wasn't even 2 months after the heart attack. I sat around my living room and watched my ceiling collapse. And normally, I mean, my ceiling literally, yes, it literally collapsed. Normally, I would look at something like that and go, all right, well, it's just time to go ahead and, take care of it now. And that's a terrible loss of a feeling to not have that, oh, it's okay. It'll be okay. I can go get it. I'll take care of it. That was more hurtful than hearing the doctor say, well, you're having a heart attack, but we're going to take care of it. That was more, it was more painful.
Wow. Yeah.
We got through it, with prayer and, the things that we put in place, for emergencies when they come up, but you never think about it. Yes. And the only thing I could say to the man's man thing is, she came up with that terminology. I just do what, my father actually coached me to do when I was actually younger.
I think that's so valuable, and even for the reasons that the marriage really exists.
Yes.
Because for us, and it's even having you all on with us today, Tawana and I don't have all the answers. Yes, we've been through a lot of different experiences, but we've never been through what you all have experienced. And I think it's valuable for every couple out there to know that, iron does sharpen iron. We are our brother and sister's keeper. We have to learn to reach outside of our normal comfort zone to get the assistance that we need. I was thinking of Roy, and just as a man and hearing the term, I think it's important for us if we don't feel well to go and see a doctor.
Absolutely.
I think, and just hearing the terms, I've heard it often, and we talk about being a man's man. And in my opinion, that particularly speaks volumes to do what we are already created to do. That's taking care of our wives and taking care of our children. Our daughter should depend on us. Our son should depend on us. When the light is out, it should be us that gets up. Not that the wife can't do it, but it should be us to change the bulb. It should be us to walk out in the rain, and hold the umbrella. These are things that men, the expectation is there. It doesn't matter, but it's what we do, right? But as you guys face what you face, and seeing the wife go through stuff and the husband go through stuff. So on this final point, we're not going to hold everybody all day long because we can keep going all day.
Yes.
Just talk about the recovery aspect, right? And supporting each other through this particular recovery in the process.
Well, from my standpoint, once we got into the recovery, I first didn't do it all by myself as far as getting through. We made sure he had what he needed, but in the beginning, remember, I'm recovering as well. So I have to take my hat off and give thanks to our daughters who stepped right in and took over everything. Right. They just got prescriptions, they got appointments, they took care of the budget and the household. They made calls, they moved some stuff around. They just handled our business until I was up to par. And then they were still there to help me because they knew the burden of me caring for him and trying to work, because I was released to go back to work way sooner than he was. Then we're watching him as he gets a little bit stronger, but not released. Other things start to mess with his mind, because now, I've been here too long. I got to get out. I got to get out. It's almost like, let the horse out the gate. I got to run. I'm ready to do this thing, but he was yet not released. That part was painful as well. And we had to keep talking to him and letting him know it's okay. I've seen the tears. Not that he's weak, but because he was hurting for me. He was hurting for this family. He felt, the enemy was trying to make him feel like he was a failure and all these other things. And I just want to speak to the women right here, if I could. We can break a man or we can build a man. And you have to be careful and not let life come and take you out of sorts to the point that you don't recognize and you don't recall those vows in sickness and in health. Because when he was healthy, everything was going good. Now he needs, because he's sick, Okay, he has to have time to recover because he's a man in the natural as well. And he's not Superman. He's just a man. And so you have to remember these things, and you have to look to your strengths and pull on your strengths and your spiritual strength, and pull on your faith, and let that increase, and cry out to the Lord. He'll give you what you need. He'll give you what you need so that you'll have what you need to build that man up for that point in time, because he's going to be on a comeback, and we can help him come back, or we can help him not come back. So just remember that when your spouse is down for whatever reason, even if he's down his spirit, or something happened, had a bad day or whatever, and that goes for the wife as well. We need to encourage one another and stand by. You in this thing for the long haul, right? Not just when times are good and when he can do everything for you, and when he can bring in the paychecks, and when he can make everything happen, and you can have all of this, whatever. But when the rubber hits the road, when your back's against the wall, and you don't know how you're going to pay your next bill, you don't know how you're going to do this, you don't know how you're going to do that. This is when you got to tie the knot, hold on to each other and that cord that's in the middle, and just hold on for the ride, because it's a ride. But we do know by our faith that Jesus said he'd never leave us nor forsake us. He's with us now and even till the end, so he's there with us. We just have to find something to hold on to, get your strength, and just ride it out, ride the storm out, because this too shall pass.
That's right, Roy. That is so right. I was trying to put all your points on there. You had some really good nuggets coming out. Really, really good nuggets. Hold on is the key thing, just riding it out, riding the storm. Jesus, the Lord, through prayer will definitely make it through. So yes, the trials come, sickness come, and whatever else may come, storms may come. But the key is holding on, supporting, and praying with one another and for one another to make it out, because you will make it out. So Roy, do you have any final words that you wanted to add to what your wonderful wife has laid out there on the table to the people?
I can't even come close to that. But I will say this, just for those of you that are listening, to share just a little bit more of what I've been through and what I'm still suffering with from time to time. The doctor actually, I had quite a few doctors to tell me that once this was over, on my road to recovery, the ambition that I had for doing all the things that I normally do, it was going to come and go. It was a while before I could figure out exactly what that meant. And now I know. So I deal with it on a day-to-day basis. It's where you actually have the ambition to go and do something just before you get to, put your hands in it. Your mind and your heart just disagrees with each other. And you just say, well, nah, I'll save it for another time. I'll do it for another day. I didn't know about it, but I've heard some older folk that's actually been through this situation tell me that it takes a lot of years for that part to get better. And some people, it never gets better. But I've been dealing with it pretty good, as I hear, from my family and from the people, that I work with and that I'm around on a day-to-day basis. But I just pray, and we just hold each other up, by, just basically just giving each other encouragement, to move on. We always look at it and smile and say, we're bigger than this and we're better than this. So let's just not wallow in the mud and just keep going the way we've been going. So I just wanted to make sure that I share that with people. It's not like something like that could happen to you and all of a sudden you just totally healed and it's all over. No. It's still a work in progress. And remember, I still deal with the diabetes. I still deal with the high blood pressure going on with all of this. And it's a balance, it's a balance. And we work pretty good together. And that's what you have to develop as a couple, as a married couple. And that's what the grid is all about. You have to put together whatever it takes to basically just be that one single bond that holds the whole thing together. So that's about all I have to say about that.
Awesome.
I want to thank you all for thank you, Sandra and Roy Bailey, for joining us. Not just for joining us on this conversation. We appreciate your transparency. We appreciate your support through the years. For those that don't know, we have daughters as well, and the daughters of the Baileys have supported our girls in their journey, track and field, and just being that, and we've never been public about it. They never wanted us to be public about it, about supporting that. When I say support, I mean, it's because that's what, again, the Marriage Grid is about, the network of support, and them supporting our daughters financially through things that they through their hopes and their dreams. And our daughter right now is running track in college, thanks to your support and your daughter's support. So this is such a valuable community that we have with the Marriage Grid of, again, answers that we don't always have, that the Baileys may not always have, but there's some folks that God has given us and placed in our corner to bless the entire world, to bless an entire generation. So no, this conversation is not about 100% COVID-19. It's not about people, dying through that, but it's all about, no matter what you may experience in your life, you said some vows.
Yes.
You've made some vows.
Yes.
And at some point in your life, you will have to respond to the vow that you made. I hope that makes sense, everybody.
Yeah,
absolutely.
At some point in our life, you will have to respond to the vow you made.
Yes.
Exactly.
Awesome. Wonderful. That is definitely a great point to put on. And as for this platform, the Marriage Grid, and just really recognizing, the responsibility that we have for one another, and getting through situations that we face. And even if it doesn't come, with regards to the COVID-19, even if it doesn't come, to each of us individual as a couple, but, within our families, some friends that we may know that we've lost to this, or, a family, whatever the case might be, just helping and assisting those persons, is a job that we all have right now.
That's right.
And to be able to, submit prayers for them, to be able to support them. There's some friends that I know of who have been going through the sicknesses, and just supporting them from a distance, bringing things to their homes. And, just like the fast food, the restaurants, they have, what is it called? Contactless delivery, whatever the case might be, to add that support to those loved ones are the things that we need to do and remember to do. Thank you for showing that beautiful picture.
Wonderful.
Of you too.
Yeah.
I was trying to read a comment. And so just knowing that we're here, and we are here to support each and every one that we know in whatever capacity that we can. And yes, it hurts, when we see our loved ones go through, but we also know, and it's a prime example of you two as well, that we can get through it. We will get through it. And, the support is continual, not at the moment, but after the fact, after you've come out of the hospital bed, and come out of that hospital building or whatever, that support is continual. And to just be mindful of those family members. And I love the example that your daughters have set, for so many, to just really be, and I don't think that it wouldn't be an innate thing for families to do, but it's just something that we have to know. It is very important in order to see our loved ones survive after the fact.
Yeah.
So these are just things to be mindful of, and we certainly appreciate you coming on and sharing with us, and sharing with everyone, even for those who will be watching after this broadcast is over. Feel free, and I want to just let everybody know you can always submit your questions, comments, or concerns. And if it's something that's directly, addressed to the Baileys, we'll make sure that they are aware and that they know and can get back to you in those comments. So feel free to do that. And we just love and appreciate you.
Thank you
for having
In addition to that, one final note. One final note, please. If I started a watch party on my my individual Facebook page. If you're not a member of the Marriage Grit, you can join the Marriage Grit. Like, follow, because again, it's about us trying to grow the community so we can be a support of one another. So thank you guys for joining us. We love you. We appreciate you.
Love you
Thank
too.
you all. You enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, continued supporting your loved ones during this time is so much needed.
Absolutely.
Have a good evening or good day or wherever, whatever time frame it might be for whoever is watching. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Good. That was good. And we